Hey, how's it going? I'm John Rail. So I had a pretty exciting time at Comic-Con. I didn't take a lot of photos or video, which may seem strange for me, but I always kind of shy away from oversaturated photo-video opportunities. For example, I've lived in LA for almost 8 years, and I've never taken a photo in front of the Hollywood sign. And the only time I ever took a picture of a Hollywood Walk of Fame star was when Penn and Teller got theirs, and that was only because a friend dragged me to take a photo of her in front of it. I don't even like taking pictures with my celebrity heroes unless I'm on stage with them or it's part of my goofy mistaken identity photo series that I've been doing the last couple of years. I just see so many people taking pictures of the same thing and I'm like, what's the point? I could just look up a photo of this later if I really want one. Hell, I can even Photoshop myself in. Anyways, Comic-Con. I had a pretty awesome time there, in no small part because of what I was wearing. Now, it wasn't titillating, but it was stimulating, or at least satirical and very much appreciated by a lot of people attending Comic-Con. I went dressed up in a faux motion capture suit, carrying a cardboard sign that read, "Will discredit VFX artists for Oscar." Basically, I was going as a very hyperbolic version of Andy Serkis. If you are not familiar with the joke, as I keep reminding you, check out my video where I explain the whole controversy of Andy Serkis discrediting VFX artists in order to promote himself as Oscar-worthy. And then my follow-up video where I go around LA impersonating Andy Serkis on the Oscar campaign trail. In most places, especially Hollywood Boulevard, this is not something that most people are familiar with. Not Comic-Con. Oh no, I got stopped and asked for my picture with at least a couple dozen people, and my hand was vigorously shaken by many VFX artists and even friends and spouses of VFX artists. My Facebook picture from Comic-Con has more likes than any photo I've ever been in. I even received a lovely private message from a certain Academy Award-winning visual effects artist. Oh, by the way, I was still bleary-eyed from Comic-Con, so I'm barely waking up halfway through this private conversation on my phone with this friendly gentleman who likes my Andy Serkis hijinks. Oh, thank you. Glad you appreciate my work. Blah, blah, blah. Talk to you later. Blah, blah, blah. Wait, why does that name seem so familiar? Holy fucking shit, that's awesome. In fairness though, or I guess I should say in addition to this obtuse behavior of mine, I was in the middle of a real-life conversation at Comic-Con with my co-producer and apparently someone she used to work with at The Simpsons. I don't know. I think we had drinks with him a few months ago. He looks really familiar. That's it. He was the moderator on The Simpsons panel we saw earlier that day. Man, he must be having an awesome time at Comic-Con. Seems like a nice guy too. Hey, yeah, here's our card. We do some cool stuff. You should check it out, man. Have a good one. So who was that again? Motherfucking Matt Groening. Oh, and for all you hipster The Simpsons aren't cool anymore bitches, watch some recent episodes. The Simpsons has been doing some good stuff the last few years, trust me. Back to my costume. It was not met with universal praise. I ran into a motion capture performer who worked on Thor, one of my favorite movies of all time. I know it's not a great movie, but it is one of my favorite movies ever. I'm not really sure what it is about it, but I love it. He was a bit nonplussed about my costume. Of course, that also might have been the result of him and my co-producer getting into a pissing contest over whose job was harder. The motion capture artist whose blood, sweat, and tears go into playing those characters? Or the VFX artist who endlessly and meticulously toils for weeks and months? Must be real tough being employed for more than a few days at a time. It is when you never get paid for half of the hours you put in. Half of my hours take place in the unemployment line. Presumably to get a job with companies that aren't being shut down. It got a little awkward, and being the physical embodiment of a giant middle finger to the poster boy of motion capture work, I was in no position to neutralize that moment with a compromising, "Look guys, clearly it's a team effort." It would be like the barrel man saying, "Hey fellas, I think both teams played a great game." And for the record, that is my genuine opinion. There should be a separate category for best character, and the Oscars should be accepted by both the motion capture performer and the head of the VFX team. Not that anyone should give a shit about the Oscars, but since they are often used as a yardstick of who's important and who's not, then credit should be given where credit is due. The real ironic twist to that story, however, will be that when motion capture performers are able to start winning Oscars, they'll probably all be out of a job. Producers will be very quick to make sure their casting directors fill any potential Oscar-winning jobs with big names and faces. So maybe you should think about that the next time you want to defend any obtuse statements made by the rich and famous defender of motion capture work. Or maybe I'm just being paranoid. Speaking of segues, this girl had me very paranoid. Seriously, wings are apparently a huge rookie mistake at Comic-Con, and after walking through the shoulder-to-crotch crowds, I can see why. But metal wings at eye level? That's just purposely vindictive. I'd like to believe that she was in her third act of an exploitation-style plot, where she had been abused the previous year for wearing fluffy, feathery angel wings, and she was back for revenge. Tinker bitch! Question: whatever happened to not cheap-ass lanyards? Every conference convention I know of, the lanyards keep getting cheaper and lamer every year. I learned my lesson at TAM a few years back and just started bringing my lanyard from previous TAMs, but I thought Comic-Con would be different. It wasn't. Sadly, some artists still need lessons on the human anatomy. You broke Rose, jackass! One of the highlights of Comic-Con, as with any convention, was seeing friendly and familiar faces. Anna and I got to sit in on a Nerdist panel hosted by the lovable and comedically awkward as always, Kyle Hill, which consisted of some awesome science folks, including our old pal, Phil Plait. It was like being back at TAM circa 2011. We also got to spend a good amount of time with our rocket scientist friend, Ben Siepser, who you can see here is the photobomb master. Seriously, that is not faked or staged. He honestly caught us taking a picture together before we even met up with him. In fact, last year, I found him in several pictures that I didn't even know he was in until I got home. Check your photos, people. He just might be there. Side note, Ben, Anna, and I were taking a look at the half-price trades, where I managed to complete my Alex Ross collection, and I found a lone copy of Metalocalypse's collected hardback edition comic book, which, since I already happen to own it, I let Ben have because he doesn't have one, which is not a big deal since, as I said, I already own it, but it was only $10 and it goes for $200 online. I'm just saying, I'm a pretty good friend, okay? That's all I'm saying. We also got to meet up with our filmmaking friend, Mike Celestino, and his special co-producer. Mike is the man behind That's Not Funny, which is a brilliant documentary about the controversial history of Western comedy. If you haven't seen it, you are making a mistake with your life and you should rectify the situation. It's on YouTube for free. We had a fun, inebriated evening with some of Anna's wacky cohorts. See, now's the moment when I wish I had taken a couple more pictures than I did. Another highlight was Anna finally getting to meet her hero in person, Teddy Roosevelt, a politician of some kind. For the record, that expression is 100% genuine. She loves her some Rough Rider. For my part, I got to meet Quail Man, who has always been a favorite of mine. I actually dressed up as Quail Man my last day of high school. Just because. You gotta respect a hero that can save the day with patience, intelligence, and speed. One of my favorite things about our trip to Comic-Con was sleeping under the stars. We were staying at Anna's grandmother's house and it was all filled up, so we had to camp out on the second-story deck. Not a bad compromise. Something that really impressed me about Comic-Con were the question and answer sessions. Take notes, skeptics. People would approach the mic, maybe give a sentence of praise or acknowledgement, and then ask a fucking question. Compared to any skeptic conference I've ever been to, it was like being on another fucking planet. And George Hrab wasn't even there to sing his awesome song. There may be. So that was my first Comic-Con, and probably not my last. I must say, in a conference filled to the brim with amazing and brilliant costumes, it was quite gratifying to get so much love for my goofy bit of satire. Of course, Anna got her fair share of love as well, despite wearing what she actually does wear every day. That didn't stop people from asking her for her picture because they thought she was doing cosplay of some character or another. Thanks to everyone who made my time so wonderful, and a very special thank you to my special lady co-producer for taking me along on her professional pass. Just another reminder, things have temporarily slowed down a bit. You may have noticed that Comic-Con happened nearly a month ago, for example. So we are still a bit behind on production and production financing due in large part to some furry hitchhikers we picked up on the highway a month ago. And I mean literally picked up off the highway. We have been fostering them, including food, litter, checkups, shots, etc., which we are happy to do, but some of our time and money has been diverted from production. So if you'd like to help get things back up to speed, please feel free and encouraged to donate. But if you are willing to be patient, and if you're my audience, I know you are, then, as always, no pressure. Thanks for watching. By the way, if you've noticed a scratchy tone in my voice, I am allergic to cats.